How do you turn strategy into action? This is a question that's come up recently, especially when I'm talking to leaders. Just this week, I'm going to be speaking at a strategic leadership forum for an organization in Melbourne, and they're bringing together their top 100 leaders to talk about their strategy for the future. So they want me, as a futurist, to give them that future perspective and also show them how to get buy-in for their teams within the organization. And this is something that this organization does regularly. And as I was speaking to the CEO about it and talking about what she wants to get out of it, I said, what are the issues that you've had in the past when you've run sessions like this? And just so we can figure out how to address them. And one of the things she said, it's very common, is she said people come along to this retreat, the strategic leadership forum, and an event like this, and they get some really great ideas. Then they get back into their day-to-day role and they find it difficult to implement them. Even with the best of intentions, life just gets in the way. They get busy, they've got lots of other things on their to-do list. They actually have got other priorities to consider as well. So what I want to make sure you do is not just give them the big picture, but also give them things that they can put into action. And it's interesting because just last week I had a similar conversation, a similar question when I was speaking at a CEO breakfast at a conference. And the small group, with a small group of CEOs, there were about 30 of them in the room. And again, we were talking about the future of their industry. And one of the CEOs asked me, we had a little bit of an interview panel session afterwards. And one of the CEOs asked me a similar sort of question. That he said, in this situation, I love this idea, won't go into the details of it. He said, I love this idea, but how do I actually make sure that it gets done in my organization? So a similar sort of question in a completely different industry. And I think this is really important. It's one of the things that I always look to do in my workshops and when I talk to leaders about future scenarios or when I'm talking to them about being future-ready leaders. How do we get some actions that you can put into place now, like immediately, not in the next 3 to 6 months, but immediately? What can you do so that when you walk out of here, walk out of this room, you feel lighter, not heavier? In other words, you feel like you've got some things that you can do to actually change the organization, but they're not going to add to your workload. And the secret is to have some small things that you can do, and ideally you can delegate to other people in your team to do, which doesn't, again, they're not going to add a huge burden to those other people's workloads, because the goal is not to get other people to do the work for you, but is to build a culture where people are open to change. And there's some really specific things you can do. I won't go into the details here, but have that in mind, that whenever you've got an idea, rather than saying start with why, start with who, and look at your people and the organizational culture as a whole. How can you get your people, how can you get a culture of change agents, people thinking about the future, and people willing to do work to make change happen? So there's some specific things we can do, and I'm running an online presentation coming up soon looking at the future of work. It's a big topic, the future of work, and I think it comes down, you can break it down into 4 areas, and I'm going to give you some really practical things that you can do in each of those 4 areas to start making change happen, which will then lead to bigger change. So it's coming up soon, it's free, it's public, it's open to everybody. You'll find the link to register here. And please, because it is open to everyone, invite other leaders in your team and your organization as well. I'll see you in the future.